Hi and welcome to The Curve Weekly, the podcast that keeps you up to date with all the money, business and stock market tea.
Everyone should experience first class at least once in their lives, and Annie shouldn't miss out just because she can't afford it.
Help me, I'm poor.
How are you, Vic?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Haven't seen you for yonks.
I know it has. It's been weeks.
Weeks.
Like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen you on Zoom.
Yeah.
That's really...
Can't get away from me.
I was
find you.
talking to my dad this morning and he was like, how's Vic? I was like,
I don't
you know
know.
what? I haven't seen her in a long time. We've both been on holiday. How was your holiday?
It was great. It was really nice. God, I love Italy. Just ate my weight in pizza, pasta.
What was your favourite
Even
pasta?
last night I tried to make a pasta, just to keep the Italian dream alive. Wasn't that good?
Oh, what did you make?
Pesto pasta. It just wasn't good.
No.
But you know, like even a shitty pasta in Italy is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I must say, I never really grew up in a household full of pasta. Like, it wasn't really something
No, neither.
my mum
I only
made.
became a pasta lover like recently.
Yeah.
I remember I lived with a friend in Sydney who loved pasta and I was just like, but I think the pasta here is different. In Italy, it's like I could eat it every day and not feel bad. Or not feel like,
It was yum.
you know, stodgy. Whereas here I'd be like, I'd probably get a bit blocked up.
A bit blocked. Oh my gosh. We're like not even 2 minutes in. Can we not talk about like
I know, sorry.
your
Okay.
bodily functions?
My bodily functions are fine.
But you have got a
Working
good
fine.
tan.
Thank you.
I'm surprised you're not sunburnt.
I don't get sunburnt.
You do every holiday.
No, I don't.
You go lobster.
It's-
Anyone that
it's
knows
because
that,
I
it's because
have-
my skin just goes red.
I have the worst heat rash. If I have like one glass of wine, I'm like a tomato.
You never drink wine, to be fair.
No, I know, but I did in Italy and not an idea.
No?
But I get so much shit when I think, what are you going to order? Tequila soda? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and what are you going to do about it? I know, it's so annoying. We need to make it more common.
Yeah. But I can just, it just makes me feel better the morning after because I know wine, I just wake up with like a ruthless hangover. Whereas tequila soda, because you're drinking water, I actually feel hydrated.
Did you have any like major holiday money wins or
No.
like big blow-ups?
Yeah, absolutely opposite.
What happened?
Oh no, just like it's just Sardinia is just so expensive.
Is it?
Yeah.
More so than other parts
Oh
of
my
Italy?
gosh, I thought Saint Tropez was expensive.
Really?
And Sardinia, it's like everything was just like 200 euro, 200 euro. It's like taxi, 200 euro. Bed, 200 euro. I was like, do you
Bed?
guys?
What do you mean
Like,
bed?
sorry, a day bed
Oh.
on the beach.
It's like, did you not sort of accommodation?
Just in a hostel. How much for a bed? And then while I was there, I got an email from the tenants at my house in Auckland that were like, hey, we're moving out. So it was a bit of a like, whoa, I need to go home kind of like, literally. I was like,
Did you panic and you're like, oh my God,
yeah,
I
I
need to
think
leave
it
early?
definitely impacted my holiday in terms of like, once I got that email, I was like, oh, I just got conscious, more conscious of my spending because I now have to pay a mortgage next month. You know, like it was just kind of like, yeah. So and then I was supposed to go on another holiday end of August and I was just like, I'm sorry. Like but I'm also
Have you
quite
bailed on that?
content. I have to pay a mortgage next month.
No, I was just asking because I was also
Yeah.
going to go on the trip. I'm just checking.
No, I've definitely bailed.
Yeah.
I was just like, don't stretch yourself to the point it's going to stress you out and you're not going to enjoy your holiday. Just be like, it's a couple of months where I'm saying no. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of like August. I love August in London
Same.
anyway. Me, I'm like, there's lots of festivals to go to and concerts, and I'm like, no. The whole point of staying put is to save money.
Well, this is like the first time that you've probably had a big money stress in a while,
But
right?
I also just feel this weird, it's going to be fine energy.
Great.
I've kind of just had this,
Do you think it's because you do have backup?
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you've obviously got your FU fund, but you've
Yeah.
got
I think it is that.
investments. Like, I don't know, because I'm surprised you're not more stressed. I would be.
I just think it's more like boo-hoo, you can't go on holiday. Do you know what I mean? It's kind
It's
of
not like you're not going to be able to afford
pay
rent.
rent. Yeah.
You'll be
yeah.
fine.
It's like
just
I know everything's relative and you know everyone has different situation, but I'm just like, yeah, it's a holiday, Vic. Like it's not the end of the world. You're not like in my head, I'm like, I would rather not go. So for the next holiday, be like less stressed than go on this because I've already committed and then stress myself out, not be fun to be around. Like that kind of shit really stresses me out.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about my friends, you know, being like, I'll be shit to be around. So
No,
so
but I think it's a really good way to think about it
Yeah.
because Often I feel like the mentality is I can make it work, therefore I'll do it and figure it out later.
Yeah.
But actually that can be way more stressful. Like
Yeah.
I think actually if I'd gone back in time to my last Italian trip and I had just been like, guys, I'm so sorry. I know
can't
that
come.
I have committed. I can
Yeah.
pay for the accommodation, but I'm just not going to come.
Yeah. Then when you next go on holiday, you're not, And I think that's the thing. It's just like, we can't say yes to everything. Sometimes you have to say no, but it's like, it's also being fine with saying no. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't be like, oh, but it would be a great holiday, or like, oh, but I'm going to miss out. They're not going to invite me next time. Or like, it's just like, it's more a mindset thing of just being at peace with saying no.
It's almost like saying no to someone else to say yes to yourself.
To say something else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I think if you were saying yes to the trip and you went.
Yeah. I just wouldn't enjoy it because every time it's like, let's go for a group dinner or let's do this, I'd be like,
that's how I feel a lot of the time about group dinners.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
I think for me, going on holiday with one person was like revolutionary.
Yeah.
Like even if it was just one friend or like, I don't know, I think there's less decisions that need to be made. Everyone's kind of on board with what you want to do. You're not having to split heaps of bills. Like I really don't love it going on
group trips.
huge group trips.
Yeah.
Like it's so fun in theory.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it stresses me out more. So I think I'm going to try and also get better at saying no to things, whether it's dinners here in London or trips or whatever. What are you doing
it's
that
just
for?
like my therapist was like, you need to be more of a passive yes person.
What does that mean?
Like you don't need to go actively out of your way to like meet people, say, organize things, all of that. But when like opportunities come to you, you need to say yes more.
That is great advice for you.
Passively active is kind of.
Yes, because I actually think you put everyone else first. Like you put your family, your friends, work, everything.
Yeah.
And you also make a huge effort to organize stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas actually if you took a little bit of the load off of being like the organizer and just went to things and you're invited, that would be like, who's the therapist?
I know, yeah. And I was like, but then it's also not saying yes to everything.
Yeah,
but I'm also someone that's like, oh no, I've got work to do, or I'll say no to the, like you can always justify saying no as well. So it's just like, just be more passively active in your social life in terms of like, if someone's like, hey, do you want to go for a drink after work on Friday? Yeah, sure. Like it's, why not?
Sponny Vic.
I know.
Yeah, Friday. I'm
Being a
free.
yes person. So if you're going to ask me to go do some tantra sex thing, and you'll be like, you said you'd say yes.
You've been wanting to go to a tantra sex thing for ages. Don't make it up like I'm forcing you.
I know. Okay. Anyway, finance. Speaking of Europe, there's been a huge study that's been done around remote working.
I was about to be like, we spoke about this last week. I thought you were going to go down the whole
tourists. No, so there's been this big study done about remote working and where the best places to remote work are. I must admit, when Sophie texts me being like, get off your laptop, I'm like, when I'm working on holiday, I personally love tapping into work for a couple of hours in the morning. Like me and my friend, we did a couple of hours where everyone was still asleep. Then we could go and enjoy the day, both running our own businesses. So it was quite nice to do that. But it is not the easiest. Everyone thinks, oh my God, working for yourself, you can work anywhere in the world. It's like, no, there's always Wi-Fi issues. Your battery runs out on your laptop. You are in an uncomfortable seat.
It's too hot.
It's hot. Or like everyone's trying to go on a boat and you're like, oh God, I've got a meeting. I've got a call. Like it's, yeah.
I have this theory, I think like digital nomads, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Anyway, a couple of years ago, I feel like it was really glorified and everyone wanted to be working from different parts of the world and blah, blah, blah. The time that I was working over here when you were in New Zealand and there was 2 weeks where I tried to go on a holiday, but I was also working. It was so stressful. Like I really think, I know this is first world problems. However, like not taking for granted being able to get up, go to the same location, have a desk, have a space, have a clean area, good Wi-Fi, like all of those things. It's like the recipe for a clear head to be able to do a good job. Yeah. I think sometimes when you're in different parts of the world and like trying to connect, I don't know. I found it really hard anyway.
Well, there's been a big report that's been done about like the top spots in the world for remote working, like digital nomacy.
I think we should say that up. Let's go with that.
Digital nomacy.
What was that?
Oh my God. Digital nomacy. Oh my God. Okay. Just nomadsy. Yeah. So anyway, Europe has grabbed 9 of the 10 spots.
Lisbon.
Alongside Canada. So it's like Spain, Lisbon. Yeah, it's like all pretty much.
Is Lisbon one?
Yeah, Lisbon, Spain.
Where else?
Sorry, no, Portugal. Yeah, I was like, Lisbon's not a country.
Oh, is it not?
No.
Oh, it's
Portugal. Yeah. Anyway, so I've hasn't had a coffee yet.
I actually have, which is embarrassing.
Okay.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
And a cacao. I'm back on the cacao band.
But nowhere in the US made the cut. And they looked at things like the cost of a visa, the benefits of a visa, quality of life, a cost of living, all of that technology. But it's interesting that Europe's like some of the top spots, and Spain is right up there, and they've had this big backlash with tourists, but it's one of the top spaces to remote work, which I think is quite a...
So there's actually probably a shitload of people remote working.
Yeah,
For anyone who missed last week's episode, we spoke a lot about this, so go back and listen. But essentially, there's a huge amount of like unrest in Europe around the influx of tourists at this time of the year, and that like locals can't handle it, infrastructure can't handle it, public transport struggling. So it makes sense then that they're the hotspots for remote working.
Definitely. But it's quite funny that it's Europe. Like, I think...
Really? I would have assumed that.
Yeah, I think in summertime... I don't know. Anyway.
So this is year round.
This is just like in general. But yeah, if you look at all those things like visas, of course the US isn't going to be in there because it's so hard to get a bloody visa and all of that. So, but interestingly, gender-wise, men represent 82% of digital nomads than women, which kind of comes back to families, looking after family, children, all of that. I can see, like, you can't just chop and change where you live when you've got kids. Well, it's a lot harder. But also in terms of ages, so 99% of digital nomads are Gen Z or millennials.
Really?
Yeah. And so there's this whole conversation now is that like, because this is becoming a trend that's a lot more popular with young people, and as they get older, the world's just going to have to accommodate for more of these digital nomads. So there'll be probably more places like co-working spaces that you can tap in and out of for shorter periods of time or like that kind of stuff. But there's going to have to be infrastructure because millennials and Gen Zs are projected to inherit $84 trillion over the next decade in terms of the whole generational wealth. So there's going to be significant need. Like if this is the way they're working and spending money and interacting with countries, like they're going to have to accommodate that. So it's going to be quite a change.
I wonder if WeWork International will be like, maybe that's in terms of investing trends and looking at companies that are trying to facilitate or create spaces for millennial Gen Z remote workers, maybe places like WeWork will do well.
And also like rent, like having the ability to, like Airbnb is one thing, but like have houses in different countries or even being taxed. Like the tax is a freaking nightmare if you're popping from here to here to here to here. Like where are you paying tax? All of that. There's just going to be so many things that need to change, I reckon, if you've got 99% of Gen Zs and millennials.
But that's 99% of the digital nomads. It's not 99%.
Sorry. 99% of digital nomads. Not You're like, oh gosh,
it's a really huge stat. But I think with that though, I wonder if stuff will pop up like with Airbnb and it's like Airbnb workspace or like, like maybe there's going to be more of, because I do think
more of a shift towards flexible digital nomad working conditions rather than like being in the office, which is what COVID's done for a lot, but it's kind of going backwards now in terms of getting people back in the office. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much of it sticks. Also, we've had some really interesting news in the UK. So they had their interest rates cut for the first time since 2020. So remember, we've got the Reserve Bank in New Zealand, which is like the bank that manages the money for the country. It's called the Bank of England in England. And they cut interest rates by 0.25%, so 0.25%. So they're now at 5%. And they signal that there's going to be further cuts. So remember, when interest rates drop, that means mortgages drop, which means house prices increase. So it's a really good sign.
What about inflation? Goes up?
So inflation is you rise interest rates to bring down inflation.
So inflation could go up again.
Yeah, but it obviously means that inflation's under control. They're like, yeah, we're cool with it. It's fine. We now feel like we're in a position to reduce interest rates. And it means the economy is doing, well, not economy is doing well, but it does mean it does help stimulate the economy when interest rates are falling. So it's a good thing.
It's definitely felt like inflation hasn't been something we've spoken about
for a while.
A while. Like there was a few months there where it was like, oh my God, inflation again.
Well, you kind of get used to like cost of living crisis, and then you just like, everyone just like has to, now you've been in it for a few years, it's like, okay, I've adjusted my spending, the emotional impact is hit, other stuff happens in the news. Yeah, you kind of get, So
then if we look at it in the fact that like, you know, it's just the living crisis.
Yeah.
If inflation's semi-normal, why is everything still so expensive? It still feels like everything is like incredibly expensive. But if inflation's fine and under control,
mainly because
what is that?
mortgage rates have been so high. So like the amount I'm paying on my mortgage, like if that was back down to what it was normally, I'd have way more disposable income to spend. So therefore other things wouldn't seem as expensive. Remember, inflation is like the increase in prices. So just because it stops increasing doesn't mean it goes down.
True. It's still
Do you know what I mean?
high.
It's still like might be 10% more than last year, but inflation rate is 0 if it was, then it's still 10% higher than it was a year ago.
Right.
It's not until it goes negative 10, then you're back to where you were. So everything just starts adjusting. So people will be asking for pay rises, you know, house prices might go back up, so then you're feeling a bit more confident. You don't actually mind paying a higher mortgage. You know, there's all these things that start adjusting. And this is what we're seeing in the UK is now that interest rates are coming down, house prices are going back up. So people, when your house price goes up, for a lot of people, that's their biggest asset. So you feel this like, it's called the wealth effect, and you feel, because you've got a bigger dollar asset that you're sitting on, whereas when you're paying a higher mortgage and that house price has gone down, you're like, fuck, you know, it's just a bit like, it feels a bit shit. And in New Zealand, I mean, interest rates have been on hold for the last 8 meetings, so they have, it's not really monthly, it's like sometimes it's bi-monthly and sometimes monthly, but they've had...
What are they in New Zealand at the moment?
5.5%.
And here they're going down to 5.
They're 5, yeah. So pretty similar.
What's happening in the US and other parts of the world? Like, is 5 kind of standard at the moment? Like, is
Yeah. They're all either holding them or cutting them. But cutting them's good because it just means, less pressure for British people. I also want to touch on, I don't know if you've seen, but the markets are shitting themselves.
No.
It's been a bit of a dire week last week. The US stock market is off over nearly 2.5%, which is a big fall for a large stock market like that. Bitcoin's off, Ethereum, like it's
in a week. So it's off 2% from the week before.
Yeah. Just over 2%. So this is all around. We've had a lot of companies report earnings. A lot of the big tech companies report their results, and some of them weren't that good. So people are getting a bit scared, being like, oh, is this the top of the market? You know, the stock market was up 20% this year. So it's had a great run. People are like, is this a bit of a pullback? You know, and then little things like Warren Buffett has sold 50% of his Apple holding. You know, there's a few things that are
gutted at Apple if that news comes out. Everyone would be. Can you just imagine the office? Everyone's scrambling around.
Yeah,
like, that's huge. Did
like
he make
Amazon,
a comment on why?
Nah, he doesn't.
I'd love to know why.
It's done fantastically well since he bought it. So it's like, again, if Warren Buffett's taking profits, then we had Amazon's result come out and they missed on their profit. Like their outlook for their profit was lower than people expected. So that stock was off about 10% last week, which is a big chunk of the...
or up?
Sorry, off. So off, I mean fallen.
No, I was just checking because I wasn't sure if you'd said
off.
Yeah.
And because that's such a large percentage of the S&P 500, that means the whole market falls. And when by market, we mean the top 500 companies. Snapchat, another terrible result.
When are they going to give up? Sorry,
I know.
But like, what are you...
I wish I could show you their chart. It's like it went up so much, and then it's just been like down. Like
At what point do you give up?
I know.
I mean, I was on the plane the other day and she sounds really creepy, but you know when you can kind of like see someone's screen.
I love doing that. You see a real long message to a dude and you're like, he's getting.
I actually think that when I'm on the train or the bus, I'm like, if I'm messaging something, I'm like, he's looking at my screen.
I was watching a Netflix and it was like a real sexy scene and I was like, I get really uncomfortable.
I want to get the security screen where you kind of can't see from the side. Anyway, the point is this girl had the Snapchat app. Yeah. And I almost was like, do you use that?
A boomer in the corner being like, what is that app that
no, I just was like, what's the use of it anymore? I thought the whole reason that Snapchat has started doing so bad is because Instagram tried to buy it. They said no, so they just implemented all their features.
And then advertisers are like, what's the point in using Snapchat? The user growth is so slow, may as well use Instagram, But like even our social media girl, Bella, like she messaged us a screenshot of a group chat from her friends group. about investing, and it was on Snapchat, and I was like, wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
was that on Snapchat?
Yeah. And I was like, well, we should ask her. She obviously uses Snapchat. But
Bella, make us cool.
But there'll be a point where the share price gets so low that there'll be another company that'll buy it, I reckon.
So then that's quite a good thing if you own a share when another company buys it, right? Because they have to give you a premium.
But it could be like that's not really a good strategy to invest.
Right.
Buying
But if it's
companies.
super low now.
Yeah, but then it could have a whole lot of debt that therefore, you could be waiting years. It could go down
There's
another.
no way it can hang on for years.
I know, but it could go down another 50%. Yeah. I mean, the founder's married Miranda Kerr. He's probably like not
Has
really,
he?
not really care. They've
Who
had
is
had two
he?
kids, Evan Schmielberg or something.
Even wait.
I'm so bad at pronouncing names.
Snapchat owner. Oh my God, that's crazy. Oh
Yeah.
my God, has he honestly married Miranda Kerr?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Like, how many, like, Miranda Kerr is arguably one of the most beautiful women in the world. He's a good looking guy. Like, I'm definitely not saying he's not. But how often do you see, like, the hottest guy in the whole world
With a
really wealthy, reasonably good looking woman?
Yeah. But I think that's because wealth-wise, women haven't had their own money.
That's what I mean, though. Like, how weird is it that there's...
Like, there'll be Leonardo DiCaprio's definitely in female form that are dating younger.
I just find it really interesting because you know how there's like a lot, like you'll see people and you're like, interesting pairing. And obviously, this is not to say
It's
that
not
people
just about
only
looks or
go on
money
looks
either.
or money. But it's just like quite interesting that...
I just think it's because women haven't had their own money and therefore we don't have that power dynamic that comes with money, and therefore, But I think because we see it so much more with wealthy men and beautiful young women, it's because there's been such generations of men earning income, growing their wealth. So it's more common to see that dynamic.
Yeah, true. That makes sense.
But we are not saying that it's all about.
I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's not often. And also, by the way, this guy's he's good looking.
Yeah.
It's more just it's Miranda Kerr.
Another.
Also, sorry, running a multi-million-dollar business. So potentially Miranda Kerr actually
she's got her own
has
shit.
got a shitload of
She's
her
a
own money.
supermodel. She's got Cora.
I didn't really think of that.
She's got, just because she's not overtly like head of Snapchat, which seems like a dying business.
True. Maybe she's actually wealthier than him.
Probably.
Sorry. Okay, we digress.
Another funny headline. So Hermès, the luxury label. So there is.
Do you like Hermès?
Not really. No, it's not really my vibe.
Neither.
I mean, I wouldn't complain if someone gifted me an Hermès bag, a Birkin. Anyways, there's this 81-year-old. He's 5th generation descendant from the founder, which means 5 generations.
Got it.
You asked the other day in a meeting, you were like, what does third generation mean? And I was like, oh,
did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So that's why I was like,
sorry. Oh, thanks,
babe. Right. So yes, he owns 5% of Hermès, and he has claimed that it's worth 12 billion euros, and he's claimed that he's been defrauded and it's vanished. And he's gone to the Swiss court to like try and get his fortune back, which is 6 million Hermès shares. But what they found out, they were like, this is not the case. You've given some bad instructions to your wealth manager who has sold your shares over time. And he's like, no. They've taken like a different agenda. They've frauded me. They've defrauded me. And they're like, no, you told us to do this. And so he's sitting there thinking he's sitting on nearly 12 billion euros of money, and he's woken up and realized he hasn't.
But what would the wealth manager have done with it? Like, where is that gone?
He just sold it.
But so they must have invested in other things. Like, surely he would have the equivalent of that still somewhere else.
Yeah, well, he must have. Yeah, I think this is the whole issue is they're like, where is my shares? Like, what have you invested? Yeah.
Whoa.
He's been a bit of controversy. He decided last year to leave all his money to his gardener. His name's Nicholas Puch. But yeah, he's saying
he's quite a lot older. He looks
he's
like
81 years old. Yeah, but apparently it's been happening over the last 20 years. Is that like this former wealth manager has been? I don't know what they've done with it. Whether they've sold it, whether they've stolen it, but anyway, he's gone to court.
This is like a Netflix show.
Yeah, he's gone to court and the court didn't buy it. They were like, no. But I think he's a bit of not a questionable guy, but he's just like he was going to leave his fortune to his gardener.
That's
like there's,
lovely.
There's a few things that people are like.
Really?
But quite interesting that imagine just realizing that $12 billion has vanished. I'd be like,
you're right. Hermès Hermès.
Hermès.
Here, Nicholas Puch promised $13 billion to Gardner. Claims his fortune has vanished. Oh, so he was meant to give it to his Gardner, and now he's like, it's gone.
It's gone. It's like, I can't give it to you.
Or do you think he's like, I can't give it to you?
Well, this is the thing. He's like, it's fraud. It's been taken, and they're like, hang on. They're looking into it. They're like, you've got a wife. I know. Yeah, I know. It could have changed his life.
Wow.
I thought we'd do a little Olympics update too, considering. Have you been watching it? I watched it yesterday. It's so interesting.
I'm a bit hooked, to be honest. I watched the gymnastics.
Oh, I watched the 100-meter men's sprint. It's like you blink and they're at the finish line.
I was also
quite crazy.
Imagine
Oh my God, did you see the guy?
What? The penis. Sorry, how are you not wearing tight underwear? You're in the Olympics. I know. You know you've got a big.
But I was actually surprised that girls like doing the pole vault. No.
Yeah, the high jump
with like big hoop earrings and like long ribbons in their hair, and I'm like, you're not conscious. Imagine if your penis made you fail.
Did you see this, Emily? Yeah, okay, great.
Quite a good story. Like, you've become famous for your size penis.
But
you've
also,
gone viral.
Sorry, but I think apparently his Instagram followers went from like 5,000 to 70,000 overnight.
They would. All female. Like,
but also the like definition of it as he comes down onto that pole, like it's not just like there's a bulge that hits it off. It's like
probably the one time that you're just gutted you have a big penis.
Yeah. Wow. But
anyway.
Also, you are competing in the Olympics. You know that thing flaps around.
Yeah.
Why were you not wearing tighter pants?
The one time that females have an advantage.
But I have been enjoying watching it, and I actually must say I've the gymnastics has been amazing. I'd love to speak to an Olympian.
Yeah. But anyway, so in terms of like visitors to Paris, so China, Japan, and Korea are some of the top countries. So there's been a real influx of Asian travelers, which has been surprising because why they're such a great tourist is that they spend way more on average when they travel. So they're much more of a luxury traveler, which kind of plays into this whole conversation we've been having around quality tourists, not quantity. But Chinese tourists are spending 65% more than they did last year, which is quite crazy. So, but overall, there's actually been pretty disappointing numbers in terms of the turnout to Paris.
Sorry, can I just pause? Pole vault is an Olympic dream shattered by his own penis.
Poor guy.
Sorry.
Yeah. But anyway, yes, the overall international visitors to Paris have been actually quite disappointing. So of the 11 million visitors, only 2 million have been international.
Really?
And it's the international visitors that spend the money. So, yeah. But I reckon there's been a lot of controversy around the Olympics. I don't know if it's just because of social media, but I've noticed a lot more has probably gone viral or hit the news than what would normally in Olympics. Like,
is it just because the
triathletes are getting really sick because they swam in the Seine River, like calling South Korea, North Korea in the opening ceremony, like all that controversy around that female who is a boxer, and they're saying that she was born a male, and then this quite funny stuff. Like I think there's been a lot.
I'm not surprised. You've got like some of the best athletes in the world.
Snoop Dogg's there. What the hell?
Yeah, there is a lot happening.
Like, it's quite funny. They're really like Alex Cooper is doing a podcast there.
Yeah.
You know, like they're really they're making it a bit more of an entertainment.
Media scene.
Yeah. Which
Imagine if the pole vault, they were like, look, are you comfortable to forfeit your title just to have it dangling? Because we think it'd be quite a funny news story.
Yeah. And you'll go viral.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know. 4 years feels like a long time ago, so I can't really remember what was going on in the news.
It was delayed. But also Nike has spent so much money. They're doing a huge marketing blitz, particularly around this Olympics. So they're spending around $4 billion a year on marketing.
What? $4 billion though. Like, no wonder it's a household name. No wonder it does so well. Like, if you were imagine if you spent that much on your personal brand, you'd be like, you'd be the female Nike non-running brand. Yeah. I can't believe it. It's so much money.
It's the scale benefits and the size benefits. They can sponsor the best athletes. They can get the best exposure. Like, it's like the bigger just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. But they've had some pretty big issues with revenue growth. So they're trying to spend money to make money. I don't know if you remember a while back that the stock was down like 20%. It wiped $28 billion off their market value. Like they're kind of struggling.
Has spending this much on marketing made any difference? Like have they seen sales rise?
It takes a while to see that translate. It's not just like dollar for dollar kind of thing. But yeah, back in June, they had their worst day ever when the stock was down 20%.
Sounds so dramatic.
I know, worst day ever. Yeah, but this is the perfect time for Nike. Athletes, Olympics, exposure, $4 billion will definitely go a long way. But you don't want to invest in companies that have to keep increasing money in spending. You know, like you want the revenue growth to kind of just grow itself. You don't want, because it's a never ending cycle. The more money you spend on marketing, the more revenue growth you get. You know, you really want to optimize your spend in terms of what you're spending on marketing. Just like we see with the curve. It's like you don't want to just flickle around money everywhere. You want to make sure those marketing dollars are being spent well.
Before we wrap up this podcast, Vic, I'd like to know if you've had any other, like, you know, like a good money win. A shit money blowout.
Oh, yeah. I actually realized I didn't. So with my tenants in Auckland, I'm supposed to be sending them monthly amounts of like expenses. So I just pay all the electricity and everything, and then I change it into my name, and then they just transfer me. And I forgot to do it. I was like, amazing.
Is that going to cover the mortgage?
No.
Oh.
But it helps. Less stress. It helps. Yeah. So that was probably my own fault that I didn't do it. But yeah, it's nice to know when you're getting a little extra money coming in. What's yours?
I want to get ahead of my rent. I went to try and transfer a month in advance because I thought that would be quite a good thing to do. Because I get paid on the 11th. I get paid on the 15th, but my rent comes out on the 11th.
Why don't you do it over the next 4 months? You just do like
a week in advance.
Yeah, just do a week in advance rather than 2 months. So then by the time in 4 months' time, you'll be a month in advance, so that makes sense.
But is that still ridiculous? Because the other thing I thought was, what if I was to put it into a separate account?
Yeah.
So it's kind of out immediately?
Yeah. And then it goes out from there. That's probably the best way to do it.
Okay.
Because this will happen to a lot of people. It's like, oh, I get paid monthly and my rent's 2 weeks. Or like, you know, like there's always going to be that mismatch.
Yeah. I just sort of I don't want to ever get to the end of the month again.
And be like,
and be run out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think that's the best way to do it?
Yeah. Do it in a separate account.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another quick one I had, well, not that was a win, but I actually ordered a backpack, which I know is like quite ugly. I just really need it for like carrying stuff around. Before it even came, I decided to return it. And I thought, good. Backpack, ugly. Yeah. Well, I left my fucking laptop in a Lime bike the other day. You know, like I think I need it all in a bag. Anyway, we'll take this offline. What were you going to say?
We're flashing. That's time's up.
Okay, time's
Bye.
up. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much for listening to The Curve Weekly. Make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the money, biz and stock market news. And if you like what you heard, we would love a review. Thank you.
Yes, we would love a review. But if you did hate it, please, don't leave one if you hated it. No, but in all seriousness, could you please leave a review? Because it really helps other people find our cute little podcast.
And we hope you have a good week and see you next Monday.
Bye.
Bye. Sweet. Yeah. See you next Tuesday. Lol. See you next Tuesday. I mean Monday.